something I have been enjoying, at least me, has been Andor. Because I know, and I was telling a lot of people, I'm like, yo, this is gonna have the same vibes as Rogue One, and it's gonna be delivering something that people are not gonna be expecting. And it has been a lot of, obviously we're getting a lot of negative feedback towards the show, which is a given. That's what every Star Wars project that comes
Yeah.
out, with anything that comes out at this point, everything gets negative feedback.
Yeah, pretty
And
much
all the
everything Star Wars related is just gonna get the moment
exactly,
it's released,
it's
it's
gonna
just
get
gonna be that negative
some
hit.
sort of negative feedback.
Yeah.
But bringing a character, creating a show alone on Cassian Andor alone, it's just like, even Ed mentioned on the podcast, you're like, Andor, like, out of all the characters, like Andor, like we know what happens to him in Rogue One. Like, do we really need to revisit the character, and what could they really bring forward, or what story could they really tell with someone like Andor? But I think this recent episode 4, is like really like hit home. Like, yeah, there's still a lot of story to tell when it comes to planting those seeds for the rebellion, and bringing that, giving more backstory to the story that we got to see in Rogue One. And then, like I said, episodes 1, 2, and 3 were great, great building blocks to what we got in episode 4, the ISB, seeing more of the Empire and seeing them plotting and doing stuff. It's like, bro, all the people complaining about this show being boring, not connecting to the wider Star Wars universe, no Easter eggs, no things like that. I'm just like, we are clearly not watching
the same show,
and we did not watch the same 4th episode. I don't know what copy you got from Disney Plus, but it's not the copy that I got. It's been super, super solid. I've been enjoying it, and I think I have it already. Granted, we have like 2 episodes left still, but I have it up there with Mando in terms of top Star Wars shows that have dropped on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's just I think I, like we said, like, I know where he's going.
We know where he's going.
I'm very surprised what he's done. So I'm like, I knew I was going to enjoy this, and I said it because I love Rogue One. I think it's still hands down the best Star Wars story there. And for people to say that it doesn't connect to the larger Star Wars universe, yeah, I'm sorry. There's no Luke Skywalker yet. There's no Jedi at the moment. And you don't need that. You don't need that.
But that's the main issue. That's the main issue. A lot of these big content creators and a lot of these YouTubers rely on those big names to create their content. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I'm sure.
They get their engagement based off those big names. So when you have a show like Andor, who is a much lesser known character, who's only appeared in a one-shot movie. It's literally a one-off. There's no sequels to Rogue One. They all die at the end. There's no story to really tell with these characters other than going back to the past and telling their backstories to how they got to where they got to in Rogue One. And then for the show to really deliver to this point, they just kind of like stunned. They're just like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not versed in Star Wars lore enough to really kind of go, or I'm not media literate enough to enjoy the story that they're presenting and then critique it,
Well, see, all right, see, okay, so like before bad mouthing them completely, okay, don't relax.
We're gonna bad mouth everybody.
You don't need to, but here's but that's the truth. It is true. They know the big names. They know the. And
listen, I'm not super savvy. I'm not super versed in Star Wars. I'm not gonna be up here in front and act like I know every single planet, every single ship, every single character. You know what I mean? I've never seen Clone Wars, the animated series, never seen Rebels, so I'm not gonna be here in front and be like, well, I know everything. You know what I mean?
Well, actually,
see, I'm going to tell you like this. I've seen all those shows and I still don't know everything. And that's the whole point. The Star Wars universe is so vast. Like, this is the first time you're seeing Andor's actual, his home world. Yes, they've mentioned it plenty of times and all that kind of stuff for him in Rogue One, and now in the series, you couldn't get anyone not to talk about Kenran and all that kind of stuff, Kanaran and all that kind of stuff, like lineage and such. But it's like, this is the first time they ever showed it. Now they show that, hey, this was literally a planet that they just went to mine, take some shit, and they left it for death. You know what I mean? They didn't care that this was a class of civilization that was not, technologically savvy yet. And that's one of the biggest things that I love about this universe is that, for something so far in the future, every planet is still separated by a fucking universe, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like some of them are going to be as smart and, you know, as advanced as Coruscant. Most of them are going to be backwater planets.
Yeah,
and
how many get abandoned or don't bother? You know, they don't have
or
enough raw
some of them don't
materials.
even. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm still surprised how they had all those clothes, but I'm pretty sure they got those clothes from scavenging from where they're mining, all that kind of stuff. So that's fine, you know. But it's, I think that's where it comes down to. It's just a matter of, yes, like you just said, the story is building something. It's showing us how it got to a certain point. And again, that's what makes Star Wars so good. It's everything else that's happening around them. It's not just about Jedi anymore. You know, it never
it was never just about the Skywalkers.
It wasn't supposed to be. It never was.
Never.
You know, but so it's like, that's what we need to remember. It's like, this is something bigger. And that's why, again, if you liked Rogue One because it started building into the bigger story that they're used to, these are still the building blocks. And they're just giving us more universe. That's what's amazing about it.
Yeah.
They're giving us already 3 different worlds that I never fucking heard of ever. And then but they're throwing out plenty of Easter eggs as well, like, you know, and you just have to pay attention.
And that's the crazy part, is that people are saying there's no Easter eggs, there's no references to other things. I'm like, these things have been mentioned before. These things happen, we're just now seeing it. Yeah, you might not recognize it right away, like, you know, their name dropping Coruscant, the ISB, like there's, you know, they want to steal these plans. They're building up to want to steal these plans. They want to start a rebellion. They're literally planting the seeds to everything that we already know is going to happen. It has already happened. So it's either you're not paying attention or you just need a refresher, which is perfectly fine. We all need a refresher at some point whenever we're watching anything new or revisiting an old story. But to say that Andor has not been delivering within these 4 episodes, which have been super, super strong episodes, compared to something like, let's be honest, Obi-Wan, which was not hitting as hard as
this show is so boring. Ozzy, this show is so boring and dull,
bro. It is.
Actually, quick question.
It is so good.
I definitely will admit I am probably the least knowledgeable in Star Wars lore here. Is this based off of, at least the narrative that we're seeing in the story, is this based off of any like already written established books or anything like that? Or is this like the story technically exists in the lore of Star Wars, but like we're kind of getting like an original, like fresh story essentially?
I want to say it's that. I don't think there's nothing written about all this, you know what I mean? I think
we just know the character existed. He, you know, Rogue One, stuff like that.
But so, again, I think it's just they just built all.
They're building back essentially, which I think you know, for people that are like so annoyed about like sequels and reboots and stuff, I feel like this is good because even though it's another aspect of a franchise, it's still something like original. You know what I mean? Like it's it's giving something fresh and original and like, you know, building backwards in a world that's so vast. I don't think you can really go wrong with that. Like think of how big this you know, they're going to different galaxies. You know what I mean?
They're
different
literally
planets. They're going
through
hyperspace.
Do you know how vast, you know, and how expansive that world building can be?
There's some sci-fi stories that you know, like The Expanse. I think like they're just in like the moon, and I think they get to Mars, and that's like pretty much it. Like they're not like going into other galaxies or anything like that. But it's so vast that like there's so many things that have happened in this. If you like, you can just build that like. So many different planets and so many different people trying to go against the Empire. You really can't go wrong with building backwards and telling us stories, even if we know the rebellion happens, this happens. It's still interesting to see what the journey was to get there. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many times I've watched Knives Out. It's one of me and my fiance love that movie so much. We know the end goal, like we know the mystery because we've seen it, you know, but it's still such a good movie to watch. Sometimes it's just good to see the journey. And especially if these are fresh journeys that aren't just like, okay, we're taking a book and we're making it a TV show or a movie. I think that's interesting. And like me being someone that does not know a ton about Star Wars, I'm super invested in, into Andor. Like I'm super intrigued.
And to build off that, I think that's what made shows like the Clone Wars and Rebels and things like The Mandalorian And even if Boba Fett wasn't the biggest thing, things like the Book of Boba Fett's that much more interesting, because these are stories that, we know the lore, we've heard of the lore, we've heard of these stories, but seeing it fleshed out, seeing it happen, having these fans come in as creatives now, creating new characters, creating new stories. Like, if it wasn't for Dave Filoni coming in, creating Clone Wars and creating Ahsoka and stuff like that, we wouldn't be talking about them at now, or seeing Ahsoka in live action. If it wasn't for Jon Favreau creating the show The Mandalorian, we wouldn't have that story of The Mandalorian, and then 3 seasons expanding that Rebels and Clone Wars storyline the way he's expanded it. So, like you said, building back to further explore the world building, because again, we're in literal space. It is literally endless. So you can just create offshoots of almost everything and anything in Star Wars, and it can work, whether it be a hit or whether it be a miss. A miss, it can work.
Yeah. See, my only worry is obviously because with prequels, like if they see that it's that popular, that they try to prolong it more than it needs to. I just hope that they you know what I mean? As long as they don't, as long as they try not to milk this and just give him where he needs to be, you know what I mean? Max maybe 2 seasons, if that. You know what I mean?
I think going more than the already confirmed 2 seasons, you're doing too much. You're doing too much.
I think it's going to be perfect if they do 2 seasons, because even then, because the moment that they give him the mission to say, hey, we need you to go and get this girl, because so on and so forth, and I think that leads into Rogue One storyline. I'm like, I think that's all I need. I need to see that very finished thing, because that's what I love prequels about, because like I know that, hey, this was the decision here, this conversation is the reason why everyone's dead. And then I'm gonna be like, oh my god, this is when it happened, like, you idiots, like, you had a chance, you could have changed history, but you did it because
like
this is the past.
even in this episode, even like going back to this week's episode again, like when he's talking to Luthen in that little hut, and he's talking about, it's easy for me to just infiltrate, just grab their gear and dress up as one of them. And it's like, bro, they're already planting seeds for what he's gonna do later on. He already know how to do this. We just need to get to the point to where he does it. Or obviously the precursor of what it took to get to what he does. So it's been fun. I've been enjoying every single minute of Andor, and I did not think I would be enjoying the show, because I didn't think they were going to be able to pull anything off with this show, given the character that was the focal point of the story. You know what I mean? So I was just like, this show, I'll watch it. I like Star Wars. I'm gonna watch it. But I didn't think I would be enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying it. So
the saddest part is that we don't get more of B the robot in our thing, because that little guy, love him.
Every robot they introduced in this goddamn universe, every single one. Even in freaking Obi-Wan, man.
I'm just like,
so for me, 3 big little takeaways that I loved about this was, one, when he was like, how did you get it? Just how did you get the box? And he's like, they just don't pay attention. They don't think it's possible to just that someone will just walk in. And I was like, he's right though. Like every movie we've all seen, they're just like, yep, we're just taking over the galaxy, and they're just doing their marching. They're just so full of themselves that like they're just the best. And then like I love the main commander or whatever that's like trying to go. Literally, his captain figured out the whole thing. It was like, listen, these guys are doing some shit they weren't supposed to. Within 2 seconds, he's like, they were doing some shit they weren't supposed to do. They got the wrong dude. He's like, they got the wrong dude. He was probably in his right to kill them. We're just gonna cover this up and like make them not heroes, but like, so it's like not super sad that they're dead. And then that guy was like, I'm gonna do extra credit. I just can't let this slide. He's
the one who goes above and beyond, but still fails.
He's that guy he's that employee that everyone has worked with. That's just like, you're gonna fuck my day up, aren't you? Because you're gonna do something that you don't gotta do, and it's gonna make my job today harder.
That much harder.
And guess what? He does that, and he gets some people killed. He makes everyone's life that much harder. And I didn't see episode 4, but I'm assuming he gets chewed out for this shit.
Well, but like, bro,
and then lastly,
is literally like literal peak Star Wars, bro. It's
from start to
finish. So
By the
good.
way, his little like temper tantrums when he's like, "Yeah, this is ridiculous that we're gonna," but his little temper tantrums were hilarious. But the last thing that I had to point out, it was one of the dumbest things I think I've seen in Star Wars. This man, everyone had like their guns out, and they're like, "Don't move," and he just sees like she's bleeding. She looks alive, like she looks more than alive, but she's bleeding, and he's just like, "Who did this?" And then it runs at men with guns. What did you think was going to be the end result there?
Well,
you just got shot, my guy. You did. Like, what did you? Who did this? Who made her bleed her own blood? Like, that I was like, come on, my guy.
The logic there is
the logic there was
sometimes.
Well, again, a man that is unarmed. Do you really assume that he's supposed to get shot? Maybe knocked in the face real quick and everything, but no.
Yeah, and I get
they were scared of the unarmed.
The soldier had his like gun taken from him and whatnot because they weren't supposed to shoot, but they were pointing their guns at you.
Again, you can point him so that he turns around, but take the shot. It's like, are you shitting me? He was like, he's literally has nothing in his hands. So, but this series so far is freaking amazing. I'm loving it. I knew I was going to probably fall in love with this but again, I know he dies and it sucks. But he does a cool ass job doing it. So that's what matters. Right. And see, that's another thing. It's either he meets what's the robot in Rogue One? Like it's
KSO something.
Yeah, KS or whatnot. Yeah, something that it's either he meets him and that's the end of the series for the series and all that, or it's they give him the mission.
K2SO. I was close. I was just missing it. I was just missing.
Dude, Star Wars has like the secret sauce in just making robots like just gut-wrenchingly important to us.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Every single droid.
Honestly, what I'm hoping is that he meets K2SO either at the end of this season or at the end of the second season.
Yep.
And he meets Jyn Erso at some point. Even if they show her or just like a hologram, oh, this is who you need to find.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Like that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That should be the very end. He finds Case, he has Case,
that's his mission. Yep.
And then now they give him the mission to the next one because that's exactly how the Rogue One starts. They find that that's his mission, and that's what they do.
Watching the show. Yesterday I was watching the episode, and as soon as it finished, mind you, I was watching this episode like at midnight. And this is an hour long, it's like it's 1 a.m. Can I power through Rogue One right now, or can
Damn.
I was like, nah, I'll save it for another day. Wait till the season is over.
No, yeah, I'm excited as hell to watch it. Like, see, and and this is where it's going to be one of the biggest things for all the people talking so much shit about all this kind of stuff. The best thing that's going to end up being able to happen is that they're going to be able to watch all these movies and shows chronologically. And then now they're going to be like, oh, what a huge universe this is, because that's exactly what it is. It's literally, they're going to be able to get the building blocks from episode 1 all the way through, get the, and then go to Andor, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Because now that's going to be one of the more earlier ones and all that kind of stuff of the actual timelines. You know, they can watch all these other shows and all that kind of stuff. And, this is where it builds up. Like, yeah, it's a prequel right now that doesn't talk about Jedi right now. We're going to get Ahsoka soon. We're getting her later.
Which will be
more, which will be very Jedi, which will be very lightsaber heavy.
Oh, and I'm so happy that they found,
which I think is great.
Ezra,
like which
is amazing.
We can get a show that has like nothing to do with like lightsabers, and then we can get a show with the fun lightsabers. Like
the thing is, if Mando worked,
it's so good,
right? If Mando worked without any Jedis, without, this is before bringing in Ahsoka into the fold, before bringing in Luke Skywalker. If we were able to focus on Mando and the mystery behind who this Mandalorian is, right? Who is not necessarily a Mandalorian, but he's still in Mandalorian armor, and follow his journey in protecting this essentially baby Yoda. Right? No, he's not a Jedi yet. He's not one with the Force. Yeah, he showed hints of it. There's nothing related to any Jedi Knights. The Sith Lords, nothing. Is a bounty hunter protecting this child. We enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yep.
Why can't we just enjoy Andor for the same reasons?
Yeah. This one is more of the actual espionage, you know, rebellion building. This is that story. Like, just understand that is this story. It's not about the Skywalkers
and it's beautiful
right now. It is amazing. I think it's great. They're doing such a good job. So
I just love the idea of so many important players. Like, and it should be like taking down an empire shouldn't just be one man with a lightsaber. It had to involve more people, more moments, more, you know, crazy ideas. And it takes a galaxy to stop a force like that.
Right.
So I love that idea of us seeing these
people
different.
realize how many people sacrifice their lives in order to bring down the empire. And I think stories like this do highlight how many people it took to just take down such this one
force,
this one galactic force that just,
and
like
just
he said,
barely.
he has a chokehold. It literally. This galactic force who literally has the universe in a literal chokehold, literally. So I think it's fun. I don't know. People need to just watch it, enjoy the ride. And you'll enjoy the payoff.
And lastly, everyone giving shit about Obi-Wan and then like walking through with the little girl and everything in the coat. Well, clearly we know that they just don't fucking pay attention to shit because they just can't imagine anyone sneaking in. So everyone's just fucking oblivious.
Yep. Future,
like,
man.
Like whenever you hear, hey, what are you doing here?
Hey, work. That's literally what it is. Hey, what are you doing there? You're there.
You have your ID? I left my ID in the other ship. Well, don't forget it next time.
Everybody just wants an easy job. Just right? Like, we wouldn't have a story if there wasn't that one guy.
Dude, you got to think about like there's like not really. I'm assuming there's not many retail jobs in there. You can imagine how many like odd just like repetitive nonsense stupid guard jobs there are, and how they just want to go home. Like, listen, I could say something right now. It's going to be a lot of paperwork. All right, just ignore it. Just ignore it.
It was.
I do not get paid enough credits for this shit.
That's essentially what it is. I don't get paid enough credits. I can't feed my family doing all this extra paperwork. But anyway.